Welcome to another episode of Human in the Loop. My name is Cameron Yoder. I will be your host. I'm joined today by Stephen of Acceleration, and we're talking about launching a new brand or launching new products on Amazon. I think this is a really good topic. It's a good refresh. I think a lot of people tend to wonder what the current roadblocks, challenges, and strategies for launching new brands are on Amazon. Pretty much how it can be done successfully. So that's what this episode is focused exclusively on. It's not only for people that are wanting to launch new brands, it's for existing brands wondering what the ecosystem is like for entering maybe into a new niche as well. Stephen is very well equipped to talk about this. He's in the weeds. He works with brands to launch and scale successfully. And I'm excited for this episode. Let's jump in and keep an eye out for the 3 primary takeaways at the end as well. There are 2 questions to launch this conversation. Number 1 is why? So why is launching a brand on Amazon significantly more challenging today than it was in the past? And number 2, what are the key barriers that new brands specifically are facing when trying to gain traction on Amazon?
Yeah, of course. Well, it's really Amazon's success that has made it so difficult for new sellers. So, they're the dominant e-commerce marketplace. They have over 2 billion visitors a month to Amazon. So anyone who could stand to profit from being involved in the Amazon marketplace is looking at Amazon and going, how do I get on there? There's over 9.5 million sellers worldwide on Amazon. 2,300 new sellers on average a day last year joined Amazon's marketplace. So just a huge influx of new sellers. And unfortunately, most of those sales that everyone sees Amazon reporting don't go to the new sellers coming in. They go to the established sellers. Actually, 0.1% of sellers on Amazon's marketplace account for half of all third-party sales. So it's a really select crew of sellers who win, right? The winners win and the losers lose, and they lose hard. So for new brands, it's a challenge to overcome all of the history that these established products and these established sellers have on Amazon and try and get your products both in front of your customers with the visibility aspect, but also get your seller name out there if you're selling a different brand's products.
Technology is a big part of this. The Amazon algorithm is a part of this as well. And so this kind of next portion, I kind of want to focus on like the role of technology and algorithms within like new brands specifically. And you've touched on a little bit of this, but like addressing it specifically, how does Amazon's platform or like the algorithm specifically work against new brands, particularly in terms of like visibility and discovery?
Again, going back to Amazon's proven history, proven winners, the way that their search algorithm is designed, the algorithm that they use to determine which products they're going to show given an Amazon customer search result. So any search that a customer has on Amazon, which products are they going to show? That algorithm uses a couple of variables. The 2 most important are document relevancy. So how much does the product that they're going to serve match up with the search term? And for new brands, this is a place where they can kind of excel. They can do as much, if not more, than the established sellers. Unfortunately, Amazon being a marketplace which is really driven by sales, that portion of the algorithm is nowhere near as important or weighted as highly as the other part, which is the sales history. So the other half of the algorithm, which is how much have you sold in the last 30 days? How much have you sold in the last 90 days? How much have you sold in the last 365 days? What's the conversion rate when we send traffic to your product page? What are the total number of reviews and what's the average rating of those reviews? All of those factors, they are heavily advantageous to established products and established brands because they've had time to accumulate those sales. They've had time to accumulate those ratings and reviews. They've had time to have customer experiences, to make sales, to look at what feedback customers are providing in terms of product reviews and iterate and improve their product page experience or even improve their product so that when customers land on a product page, they're more likely to convert and they're more likely to have a positive experience. New brands, they don't have that advantage. And so not only do they not have the sales history, but they don't have the criteria to help them improve quickly. So they've got to really invest and try and get that visibility quickly so that they can get the ball rolling down the hill.
You work with new brands, right? So what have you seen work well for responding to some of these changes
Yeah,
or to some
sure.
of these barriers?
Well, there's a lot of positivity happening on Amazon Marketplace right now for new brands. So one of them being the incremental increase in document relevancy as a part of the ranking algorithm. So I don't know if you remember back in the old days, it sounds like you were there on Amazon, but even just 6, 7 years ago, if you searched for something on Amazon, the search results that you would receive would kind of be a hodgepodge, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The accuracy of matching a search to the products that they displayed was very low.
Hmm.
Amazon was extremely focused on delivering products that customers will buy. And so they biased even more than they do now the sales history of the product. So in some ways, there's a huge shift happening right now where new brands should really be focusing on making sure that they dial in their relevancy. So that starts with, hey, do some really in-depth keyword research, do review your product reviews as you start getting them in, review the reviews of your competitors, understand what it is that makes your customers want to find your products and convert when they land on your page. And you can really maximize that relevancy portion of your visibility. Now, that's only a small part. As we talked
Yeah.
about, Amazon still heavily biases the sales history side. So, to succeed, you've really got to also have kind of a long-term plan here. You need to invest in building your sales history, invest in building your conversion rate, all these things that Amazon's ultimately going to use to evaluate whether your product arrives in the search results page or not, and know that it's not going to happen tomorrow. You need to have all of your product page dialed in, but you also need to have this long-term view with investment. And when we communicate with launch brands, we try to tell them you're not going to be profitable in month 6. You're
Yeah.
not going to be profitable in month 12, and that's hard to hear for brands that are excited. They've spent a lot of money in product development, but setting the right expectation allows them to really focus and invest on the parts of ranking well and performing well on Amazon that are going to matter in the long term. I think the thinking is, number one, start at the most basic wins that you can. So
Mhm.
if Amazon prioritizes conversion rate and sales history as a really big part of its ranking factor, then the traffic that you send to your product pages needs to convert at a really high rate. So
Mhm.
you cannot start at the top of the funnel, even though your brand awareness might be really low and you want to run these top of funnel campaigns that increase your brand name and let people know that you're in this space and that you're going to be a new player. You can't start there
Yeah.
because your conversion rate on this new traffic that you're making an introduction to is not going to be very good.
Mhm.
And establishing a history of a low conversion rate in the long term is going to make it really hard for you to rank well organically. So we always say start at the bottom, start at the easiest wins. Sponsored products is going to be your highest return on ad spend type almost all the time. If you have branded searches, you need to start with those. But if you don't, because you're a new brand, the first thing you need to do is build a list of the most explicitly exact target terms that you can that match your product and match up with the customers and the audience that you believe is most likely to convert. And you need to establish a solid history with those, and then you scale up from there. Maybe you're slightly less specific, and then maybe you start targeting competitors that have fewer ratings or maybe even low aggregate review for their product, and kind of pick off market share there as you can. And again, the focus needs to be on making sure that your conversion rate stays really high in those early terms. But you need to get the traffic as well, because without the traffic, you can't learn. You can't find out, hey, I think my product is going to convert really well with these searches. But if you don't put the money behind it and get the traffic to find out, you'll never know. So start from the bottom, try to be extremely efficient, and then make sure that you're reviewing the data on a very consistent basis.
Mhm.
I remember back in the days when Amazon's ad reporting was just the console, and all you had
Yeah.
was, I made this target at this match type, and this many people saw it. And now you can get very granular with the data. You can say, what search term did they search and what day did they do it on, all the way down to the daily level. Of course, for small companies with not a ton of, data analysis ability, there's also larger scale, right? You can
Yep.
scale up to monthly. You can also look at which product was bought, in the advertised product report. So there's a
Mm.
lot more data available from Amazon now that you can use to make really good decisions. And I would definitely suggest being involved in that data. And then adjust quickly, right? If things aren't working, you need to be ready to pull the plug. And once you get enough data, you need to be ready to pull the plug and adjust and go a different direction pretty quickly.
What do you think is or are a couple commonalities for why new brands aren't doing so well?
I think the biggest miss there is focusing on, I want to say the technicals, but it's like the sexy thing, right? So you mentioned, hey, they should know my brand name. I want to work on brand awareness, or maybe the sexy thing is I want to be in position number 2 instead of position number 5. And really, those small aspects, those are tactical, right? Having a strategy that directs your tacticals is more important than being really good at the tactical actions that you're going to take. And so
Mm.
I would say the commonality of failing new brands is that they have heard these sexy strategies of I need, brand awareness is the part that, builds the funnel from the top. And then or maybe they've heard, I need to focus on this placement. Or, when we meet with brands that have not had success initially and they're looking for some guidance, it is the lack of a strategic plan that has prevented them from having success with those tactical actions.
Where should brands focus first? Like if they have an integrated technology to like consistent, coherent part of their brand process, what's the best way do you think to approach that for like the first time?
I mean, I think it comes with a critical analysis of your gaps.
Mm.
So what are you not, what customer demands are you not meeting well right now? And that might be different for all sorts of brands. Brands that use FBA, shipping and logistics is not a problem, but for brands that maybe have heavier products or can't work within the FBA margins, shipping and logistics is something you have to do right. It is a very quick exit from Amazon if you do not provide a good customer experience on your orders. So,
Yeah, yeah.
that's an extremely important part. And if you're not covering that, whether it be communication, on-time delivery, valid tracking rate, those metrics that Amazon cares a lot about because they're very customer centric,
Mm.
you can very quickly find yourself no longer on Amazon. So, make sure you got those things covered first. Product page, great advertising
Mm-hmm.
cannot overcome terrible product pages.
Mm.
So you need to have the research and analysis done on what your customers want and what your products need, what needs your products need to meet. And you need to have really great content that supports those things. So whether that be images, video, titles, key product features, A plus content, brand
Mm-hmm.
story. Technology can help with all of those things. And we've had really great success with, um, again, generative AI helping us generate assets that work really well,
Mm-hmm.
especially for new brands that just don't have this huge wealth of photography or videography.
Mm.
So make sure the product page is a place where when you start driving traffic, it actually converts customers.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Mm.
I certainly don't want to say last because it's one of the most important pieces once you've got these foundations in place, but you've got to be able to drive traffic to your pages.
Mm.
Amazon is now a pay to play platform. You
Yep.
cannot do enough organically to generate traffic to a product that has no sales history and no reviews. You can't do it. You
Yep.
have to pay for that initial traffic. So you need to be extremely efficient with your advertising and you need to be able to view the data, get suggestions in a way that allows you to be quick and nimble. So, our layer there, our third layer there is an ad platform like Teikametrics, which we've been using and we love.
I kind of want to unpack like the future outlook for Amazon. Like, you're
Mm.
in the weeds, right? Again, you're solely exclusively focused on Amazon. You're seeing what's working, what's not. What do you think is next? I mean, a lot of my mind goes to content centric things like in the conversation of relevancy. A lot of that is tied into keywords specifically, but I see Amazon going more into like, okay, how does video content, image content, as they become more able to understand what images and videos are working well for customers buying products. I imagine them integrating things like that and being able to understand the data for themselves more with AI and like, reading video content, image content, integrating that, putting the power for that in the hands of sellers. Already generative AI, like Amazon is embracing a lot of generative AI concepts, I think, to test the waters. There's a lot of different things here, but what do you see being next for Amazon?
There's a million different directions that Amazon is running in all at once.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to more specifically the question you're asking, like when it comes to relevancy, them being able to understand video and images and better understand product pages and the needs that they meet. I think the days of keyword stuffing, of SEO
Yeah,
farming, I think they're
yeah,
done.
yeah.
Amazon's AI understands product pages pretty well to this point. They might not understand images and videos as well as they'd like to in the long
Mm,
run, but they certainly understand the impact that it has on customers.
right.
They're watching how long are customers viewing it, how often do customers purchase after they view this. So even though they might not be able to auditorily understand or visually understand a video, they know the impact that it's having on a customer.
Mm,
And I think that just turns the focus away from the tacticals again,
mhm.
right? It's not about saying the keyword over and over again. It's not about stuffing your images with information that only the algorithm cares about. It's about delivering a really good customer experience on the product page. And I think things like Rufus, Amazon's new search AI,
Yep.
just further this point.
Hmm.
The product page experience needs to be beneficial to the customer. It needs to explain why they need your product over a competitor's and what benefits they're going to get from it. It's just a reversion back to speaking to humans instead of
Right.
speaking to the robot,
Mm,
which is really refreshing.
it is.
I think that, again, if we're talking about new brand advantages, the established products and established brands, they had so much data to game the machine, to game the
Mhm.
algorithm, to really keyword stuff, to maximize their visibility and discoverability because they knew from all of these sessions and from all of their search rank results how to best fit their product pages into the bucket that Amazon was looking for.
Mm,
But Amazon's getting smart and they are, because they're so customer centric, they are turning the focus away from their machine algorithm, what's going to make the machine happy, to what's actually going to make customers happy. And it's
mm,
kind of a reversion back to, hey, your product pages need to speak to people,
yeah.
your videos and your images, they need to speak to people, they need to be beneficial to the customers that are landing on this page. And that's a really refreshing change as a an agency that works with small and new brands.
One piece of advice you would give, it could be a re-emphasis of a point you've already made in this episode, or it could be something entirely different. But what advice would you give?
I think it's pretty quick. Amazon's expensive, so build your war chest.
Mm,
Know that you are going to have to spend money to make money. Have that long-term view of where you want to be. Don't let the sexy, small, tactical pieces distract you from the strategic plan, the long-term plan. And then partner with people who have done it before. Whether it's employees that you grab and they have experience selling on Amazon, whether it's an agency like us, or whether it's partners like Teikametrics or Getita or any of these other long-standing platforms that have experience solving problems for sellers. Go find those people and you can get great resources online.
yeah.
This Human in the Loop podcast is amazing. You get a lot of really good, yeah, solid plug there. Yeah,
Yeah,
you get a lot of
yeah.
really good advice. If you're a beginner, learn from the mistakes and the experience of people who've been in your shoes before.
Stephen, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for being here. Looking forward to having you back. And thanks everyone for listening again as well.
Thanks so much for having me.
Huge thank you to Stephen for joining us today and talking about the challenges and strategies to launch a new brand and new products on Amazon today. Three biggest takeaways. Number one, as a new brand, as a new product, in a new niche, you need to invest heavily up front to gain traction on Amazon. Your organic ranking won't be enough. Paid advertising is essential for visibility. Number two, optimize for relevancy and conversion. Amazon prioritizes sales history and conversion rate in their rankings, so it's good to start with bottom of funnel advertising, which is highly relevant, very specific keywords before expanding. And last but not least, new brands can win by being nimble and human. A very good theme, I think, taken from this episode. Good for new brands and new products to lean into a human-centered approach, to tell your brand story, to engage directly with customers, and to use content like video or images to connect authentically with customers. Thank you all so much for joining me on this episode of Human in the Loop. I'll see you next time.